So what does it mean to fast? Not slow, but fast as in to give up something. Hello world, my name is David Dorn and this is Preposterous, which is not your typical Bible study. This week we're talking about fasting. So let's look at this. Matthew chapter 6, verses 16 through 18. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. In Matthew 6, Jesus names 3 spiritual practices: doing good deeds, praying, and fasting. And when we do these, we're not to do them as hypocrites do. Now pause for a second. Jesus is saying when you do these things. This carries the assumption by Jesus that we are engaging in these spiritual practices. Jesus expects his followers to be doing good deeds, to be praying, and to be fasting. But we'll get to fasting in a minute. But what is a hypocrite exactly?
What I think is a hypocrite, a hypocrite to me is someone who judges a book by a cover and can't take it personally, if you know what I mean. So whatever they don't have, they're jealous.
Someone who holds other people to higher standards than they hold themselves. Like, I hate people who complain about other people.
A hypocrite is someone who views another person as being more sinful than themselves.
Hypocrites are defined as people who engage in hypocrisy. Makes sense? And hypocrisy is defined as the state of promoting or administering virtues, morals, or religious beliefs, or principles that one does not actually have or is also guilty of violating. That being said, it's someone who does something for the wrong reason, or professes to do something and doesn't do it. Jesus says repeatedly, don't act like these people. Now, what is fasting? Fasting is the act of giving up something, typically food, water, or sometimes both. It was a common practice in the Old Testament that was often associated with grieving over your sin, mourning over the death of a loved one, or desiring clarity from God over a particular issue. Now, back in episode 1 of Preposterous, we picked up with Jesus coming back from fasting for 40 days and 40 nights as he was preparing himself for his ministry that would ultimately lead him to the cross. When you give up something, you are highlighting something else. By giving up food, you are highlighting your grief or your desire for God's insight into your life. It's not an act of bribery. God, I'm starving myself until you give me what I want. It's an act of humility. It harkens to what Jesus tells Paul in 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Fasting also reveals to you who you are at a deep level. And it gives you an opportunity to allow Jesus to deal with issues you might never have recognized about yourself. Now, growing up, I always thought that only religious fanatics fasted. I used to think, how crazy was it to give up perfectly good tasting food? But Jesus himself fasted. And for fear that we miss out on the power of Jesus' words, let me reiterate something. God himself became a human so that he could teach us, spend time with us, heal us, forgive us, die for us, and rise again so that one day we too could be freed from the permanent power of death. Jesus is God, so when Jesus is teaching us, his words carry some weight to them. Now, to be honest, so as not to be hypocritical, I personally struggle with fasting because I have low blood sugar and I'd prefer not to pass out or to get sick. But does that make me less spiritual? No. I believe that fasting can also be in the form of other things. The point of fasting is to give up something that seemingly you can't live without, and to give it up for a specific time in order to focus your attention on a specific purpose. What can you not live without? But when you fast, don't draw attention to yourself. Jesus said, fix your hair, and take a shower so people don't figure out what you're doing. Because if you're drawing attention to your actions, oh, poor you, you're not eating, it defeats the purpose of your actions. Hypocrites do spiritual things so others see how spiritual they are. Jesus followers seek more of Him, even in preposterous ways. Now it's your turn. In a comment or a video response, answer this question. Why do you think Jesus never asked His disciples to fast while He was with them? I'm curious your thoughts on that. But if you are seeking more of God in your life, try giving up a meal or something important to you for a few days. And as you remember what you've given up, see how God is revealing Himself to you. Just keep it to yourself. And make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter so that you can ask me questions throughout the week and I can ask you questions that may end up in next week's episode. And if you're a small group leader, make sure you sign up on our website, PREPOSTEROUSProject.com, so you can get access to all the small group leader stuff. Now take a look at these comments from last week's video. I hope you have a great day. God bless.
So forgiveness, I'm realizing increasingly more and more, looks like something we can't even comprehend, and that only through the power of God can we achieve. And by trusting in God and His love, and through prayer, and through walking in humility, we can both forgive ourselves and ask for forgiveness boldly.